Good afternoon. I am Andrea Chisholm with the Midday News. Special welcome if you're watching on onespotmedia.com. A reminder as well that you can download our One Spot Media app in the Google Play Store or the App Store. That's the number 1 followed by the words Spot and Media. The Clarendon police are investigating the death of a man in Denby early this morning. The body of the deceased Seabart Sebron was discovered at his gate. It's reported that about 6:30, a friend of Mr. Sebron went looking for him when he didn't show up for a planned engagement. The friend went to his house where his nude body was found under a light post. When the police arrived, it was discovered that Mr. Sebron's body was next to electric cords suspected to be from an illegal connection. The Jamaica Public Service JPS was called in. Relatives of a man who was shot and wounded by the police in Rose Heights, Montego Bay, St. James Monday are disputing the police's version of the incident. An unidentified man was shot and killed during what police say was a shootout. Police say about 1:40 p.m. on Monday, they were on an operation and were fired on in the area known as Shawn Crescent. The fire was reportedly returned and one of the men was shot and killed while another was shot and wounded. A 9mm handgun and 7 rounds of ammunition were seized. In the meantime, family members of the 34-year-old man who was shot and wounded are speaking out.
Four, and of them come in and can shoot him, eh? Man, this a government, man.
A police sergeant is dead after his motor vehicle fell into a river in Riversdale, St. Catherine. The deceased has been identified as Sergeant Mervyn Ellington, who was assigned to the St. Catherine North Division. Reports are that at about 10 Monday night, Mr. Ellington was driving his private motor vehicle from Riversdale towards Bogwalk. It's understood that upon reaching the Berwick Main Road, he came upon a breakaway that forced his car to run off the road. It later plunged into the river. The vehicle was submerged in water before residents of the area went to Mr. Ellington's rescue and pulled the unresponsive police officer from the car. He was rushed to the Linstead Public Hospital where he was pronounced dead. Pressure is mounting on the government to halt its $100 million program to administer the human papillomavirus HPV vaccine to girls in grade 7. The vaccine will be free of cost under the program which started yesterday. TVJ's O'Shane Masters has the details.
A day after the parliamentary opposition called for the Education Ministry to put the HPV vaccine program on hold until parents are adequately educated about it, principals and vice principals, through their association, are expressing a similar sentiment. President of the association, Linton Ware, is taking issue with key parties being in the dark on plans to administer the vaccine.
When anything new that is going to come on stream, all stakeholder groups should be a part of the discussion. And I think a major part of the stakeholder group is our parents. Our parents need to understand clearly what it is that is being introduced. Our teachers need to understand fully what is going to be introduced as well. Our principals, they also need to understand clearly what it is that is expected of them. And let us say, for example, in our schools, a chief, as it relates to protection of our children and serving our children, are our guidance counselors. And many stakeholders within the grouping, they do not understand, they do not know about it. And I think it is very, very important for all stakeholder groups to understand clearly what is being proposed, what is about to be introduced.
Meanwhile, President of the Medical Association of Jamaica, Dr. Clive Lai, agrees that parents need to be informed more about the vaccine. Dr. Lai says with cervical cancer being the second most common cancer among women in Jamaica, the vaccine is welcomed, but administering it should be accompanied with adequate sensitization.
When you're introducing a new vaccination, there will be some reservation, and that is understandable. But you need public education, not just locally in the schools, but even in the whole country. We should be aware of it. Several studies have been done abroad using the vaccine, and they have gotten very good results. And therefore, we have decided to pursue this.
Spokesman on Health, Dr. Dayton Campbell, who has called for a public education program on the HPV vaccine, has also raised concern about whether it should be administered in schools. But Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton says the vaccine is not mandatory and has given the assurance that the program is not a trial and error process. O'Shane Masters, TVJ News.
Meanwhile, the National Parent-Teacher Association of Jamaica is calling for the government to halt its HPV vaccine program. Public Relations Officer Mitzi Harris Dillon says the Health Ministry should carry out the necessary consultations with the parents. Mrs. Harris Dillon adds that more parents could support the program as they would be able to make informed decisions. In an effort to rid the country of the high levels of crime, the Security and Safety Unit in the Ministry of Education, in collaboration with the Jamaica Constabulary Force (JCF), will be implementing a safe school program in early childhood institutions across the island. Speaking at the launch of a police youth club in St. Mary recently, Assistant Commissioner in charge of the Community Safety and Security Branch, Steve McGregor, says each community must have a safe school program. He argues that there is nothing operational the police can do to prevent some criminal acts. However, influencing youths from an early age can help to minimize crime.
That is by arresting the people who are committing the crime. We're impacting their ability by taking off the guns, because this is 90% of the people who are killed. It is by the gun. So we're taking away the guns from them. We're well on our way to take off over 1,000 guns this year, you know. And contrastingly, we're well on our way to probably recording the most murders in our country. So it tells you that that alone is not giving us the rewards or the returns that we desire.
Mr. McGregor highlighted that the program should be in effect by the end of the year.
We can't do all at the time, because you have to do it piece for it to work. So we will have 19 safe communities in all 19 geographic divisions by the end of the year.
The Child Development Agency, CDA, has announced that it will have to conduct further work in the St. Thomas community, featured in a video in which a woman is seen beating her 12-year-old daughter with a machete. Chief Executive Officer of the CDA, Rosalie Gage-Gray, says the agency has determined that more work is needed to engage the family and community in detecting future psychological issues which may emerge. Mrs. Gage-Gray states that the release of the video has caused a ripple effect in the community. The video surfaced on the weekend, showing a woman striking the child. The police later stated that the incident took place several months ago. While the 44-year-old woman remains in custody, the police, the Children's Advocate and the Child Development Agency are investigating the incident. The results of this year's Grade 4 literacy test will be released today. Education Minister Senator Ruel Reid has called a news conference for 2 o'clock to outline how the candidates performed. Thousands of students attending primary schools across the island sat the examinations on June 21 and 22. The tests are administered to children to determine their literacy and numeracy skills in keeping with international requirements. In 2009, the Ministry of Education initiated the competency-based transition policy, which stipulates that no child will be allowed to sit the Grade 6 achievement test without being certified as achieving mastery in the Grade 4 literacy and numeracy test. Students who do not attain mastery in both areas are required to resit the examination in Grade 5. The flash flood watch has been extended for low-lying and flood-prone areas of all parishes. This is effective until 5 o'clock today. The Meteorological Service says a tropical wave now west of the island, along with a broad trough across the central Caribbean, continue to produce unstable weather conditions. Projections are for showers and thunderstorms to continue to affect sections of most parishes, especially during the afternoons today through to Thursday. Having been declared the winner on the election day and then losing the seat by 5 votes in the magisterial recount, Dr. Norman Dunn is determined to make no mistakes this time around. He said he is preparing to unearth opportunities in the St. Mary South East constituency. He expressed confidence in the race for Member of Parliament in the constituency.
Well, I welcome anybody who was joining the political process. I believe that it is, as I was saying to Simone earlier, it's a very difficult task to offer yourself for representation. It has its plus and its minuses. But once you're committed to the people and to those you intend to serve, it becomes very easy.
Dr. Dunn also commented on the recent approval for the reconstruction of the Junction Main Road and the debushing report, which was dubbed as ill-timed just before the by-election.
That has been on the books for a very, very long time. I mean, the 17th of January this year, the late Member of Parliament indicated that the project was on and was imminent. He had gotten some funds at that time to repair some of the large amount of potholes that was present. But the point I'm making is South East St. Mary and St. Mary in general, Neville and Simone, has been devoid of this infrastructure development for so long. And I've said on the media before that anywhere in this country that road development is going to take place, we should welcome it.
Dr. Dunn was speaking on TVJ Smile Jamaica on Monday. He also had more to say.
And therefore, the government would have to find the funds in order to do it. I mean, from what I get to understand, this project was conceptualized a long time ago, and with the help of a curated fund, it was supposed to have happened. Whatever reason for that not to have happened under the previous government is a different issue. But this government has seen it fit because the corridor is so important to traverse from Kingston to Ocho Rios or to Port Antonio.
And in news just in, the 44-year-old St. Thomas mother who was caught on video beating her 12-year-old with a machete has been charged. She's been charged with cruelty to a child. A court date has not yet been set. The police have taken statements from the child and her sister who shot the video. And of course, we'll have more on that story in subsequent newscast. Meanwhile, U.S. President Donald Trump on Tuesday said the United States will be talking about gun laws as time goes by in the wake of the Las Vegas shooting. The shooting is, however, unlikely to sufficiently shake up well-worn gun politics to produce meaningful changes in the nation's gun laws. And that's even though public support for more regulations spikes after mass shootings. And in sports, the Reggae Boys should by now be touching down in Saudi Arabia ahead of Saturday's international friendly against that country.
Will be the Reggae Boys' sternest test since the rebuilding process started. This, as many of the players included, have never played in the Middle East. But regardless of that, the boys are ready for the task and the chance to continue making a name for themselves against the world number 53 ranked Saudi Arabia team.
Well, it's always a good to get this kind of experience. I'm looking forward to this one. As you said, the first time going to Saudi Arabia. I think it will be a good one.
Cavaliers midfielder Siobhan Marsh has been around the national team before, but is yet to make his debut. This time, he's hoping that his hard work will secure some minutes.
You know, what you put in is what you get out, and you know, with hard work, it even beat the talent, because even then talent can bring you such far, but with the hard work behind it, it brings you even further. So I'm grateful for the opportunity and hoping for the best.
Striker Fabian Reid, who marked his debut with a goal against Trinidad and Tobago, but missed out on the Canadian game, wants a chance to return to the score sheet.
Yeah, I always want to score because I decide in my mind, so every time I get a national card, I'm supposed to want to score a goal because that is national team. So you always want to score for your national for your country. So it's a great feeling to score for your national country, for your country.
Similar to the players, assistant coach Jerome Wade sees the game as one for all to gain experience.
Going to Saudi Arabia, this is a good experience, not only for players but for coaches as well. And you know, when we get opportunity like this, we have to make use of it. You know, we have a bunch of youngsters with senior players that will be making this trip, and we have to continue to get more games to ensure that these players get opportunities.
Jamaica, who are currently ranked 6-1 in the world, has played Saudi Arabia 3 times, winning 1, losing 1, and drawing the other. Reporting for TVJ Sports, I'm Keon Reyna.
And that's the Midday News. I'm Andrea Chisholm. Join us at 7 for Primetime News. On behalf of the news, sports and production teams, good afternoon.